We start our story with Kim Kardashian wearing Marilyn Monroe's infamous Happy Birthday Mr. President dress in mid-2022. In order to fit this into Bob Mackey's historic dress, Kim went on an intensive 3-week-long diet, which allegedly resulted in her naturally losing 16 pounds. She has now revealed that she is down 21 pounds and is healthier and happier than ever. And this was not only big news because of the controversy surrounding the dress, but also because people were wondering how Kim Kardashian was able to lose so much weight in such a short span of time. And a few months later, Elon Musk provided an answer which the Kardashians outright denied, but which the rest of the world saw as an answer to their own questions and their own desire to lose weight quickly. When asked about his own impressive weight loss journey in November, Elon Musk tweeted that OZEMPIC Wegovy had made the difference. And so, just in order to get us onto the same page, here is a very brief history of what Ozempic/Wegovy refers to. And yes, we are going to be using my infamous infographics. I know we hate them, but it just helps me a lot. I love them. I'm so sorry. Although just before we get into that, I'd like to give a huge thank you to today's video sponsor, Babbel. So I've decided that 2023 is going to be a year of me trying new things, including venturing out of the UK for the first time since I came here. The UK may not be in the European Union, but I sure as hell am in Europe with its 24 official languages. And I have decided to try and strut my stuff in Denmark, Portugal, and fingers crossed Finland/Moscow. And in order to show just basic respect, I need to at least try to learn the languages. And I was quite worried and distraught when I first realized that this was a prerequisite of my traveling outside of an English-speaking country. And this is where Babbel came in and saved my little English bottom. Babbel is one of the world's top language learning apps. Babbel also curates language learning to your particular needs and lifestyle. This is why it is so perfect for me. As you know, I'm a simp for everything Russian. Russian culture, Russian society, Russian despair. But as I said, I'm also going to Denmark and Portugal. Therefore, I'm also flying into the continent. Babbel offers 14 official languages, including Danish, Portuguese, and Russian. What I've noticed is that every single course is specifically tailored to your native language, because as Babbel's experts appreciate, your native language specifically determines how you learn another language. Currently, I'm trying to improve my spoken Russian because I can write in Cyrillic. I love writing in Russian. I can read Russian, but my spoken Russian is just awful. Здравствуйте. Привет, меня зовут Зандела. Я теннистка, а не по профессии. Я считаю Достоевский и Толстой, а не Pushkin. Извините. And ultimately that has a lot to do with just my confidence. I don't have much confidence as a speaker, and I also am not immersed in Russian culture, inevitably. And Babbel has helped me so much with my confidence because it focused on what I specifically needed.
Откуда ты?
Откуда ты? Я из Германии.
Я из Германии.
Germany. The app also allows me to use my Russian keyboard, which is just perfect. It's amazing. It's the first app that I've seen that's actually allowed me to use my Russian keyboard just organically and naturally. Currently, I do 21 classes a week. They honestly fly by. You can determine how long your classes are going to be. I decided that I want my classes to be an hour a day, although you can have 15-minute classes and you can have as many or as few lessons as you want. Babbel also works with language experts for every single language on offer, meaning that I know I am getting the best course and the best reckoning with Russian possible. And I can also review classes and vocabulary after the fact, meaning that there is always something to do, there's always something to learn, there's always something to remember. And importantly, when I want to start learning Danish or Portuguese, I can just go to my settings and change my language preference. difference. There's no need for me to find a new teacher, to find a new course online, to spend more and more money. My subscription covers it all. I can learn a language on my terms in my own unique way and for my own specific and unique needs. So, like me, why not try Babbel today with a mind-blowing 60% off your subscription? That's 60% off. Yes, 60% off with a 20-day money-back guarantee. And why not tell me what language you want to learn and why? I'd be very interested to know down in the comment section. Thank you so very much to Babbel for sponsoring today's video. And just as importantly, if not more importantly, thank you so much for reigniting my love for Russian, especially giving me confidence to pursue spoken Russian. And now, without any further ado, let's get back to the video. OZEMPIC and Wegovy are injectable prescription medications, both of which are in high demand because of something that they contain called semaglutide. Semaglutide binds to and activates the GLP-1 receptor to increase insulin secretion, suppress glucagon secretion, and slow gastric emptying. This basically means that your appetite is suppressed whilst your glucose levels remain regular. And this is most beneficial to those who suffer from type 2 diabetes. Exenatide was one of the first injectable prescription medications prescribed to individuals suffering from type 2 diabetes. It was initially FDA approved in 2005. So as I said, Byetta or exenatide was the first FDA approved medication, injectable medication to treat type 2 diabetes mellitus. From 2005 to 2017, 4 other GLP-1 drugs were FDA approved for type 2 diabetes. One of the most well-known is called Saxenda, which was FDA approved for the treatment of type 2 diabetes in 2012. Now in 2017, OZEMPIC is FDA approved. It is approved at a 1 milligram weekly maximum dose for people with type 2 diabetes. Now something very interesting happens during the COVID-19 pandemic. Firstly, Saxenda, which was initially approved by the FDA in 2012 to help people with type 2 diabetes, is now approved for adults with obesity and weight issues. A year later, the pharmaceutical company that originally introduced OZEMPIC, Novo Nordisk, registers and introduces Wegovy. Wegovy is FDA approved in 2021 for adults suffering with obesity and excess weight. Now, importantly, it is approved at a 2.4 milligram maximum weekly dose. And in this same year, Saxenda is approved for children ages 12 to 17 with obesity or excess weight. Now, Wegovy's approval for obesity causes an uproar. Almost instantaneously, demand exceeds supply. And it's from this point that individuals start to use OZEMPIC as a substitute for Wegovy. That is, adults with obesity or wanting to lose weight. Now, remember, OZEMPIC has been FDA approved not for obesity or weight loss, but only to treat type 2 diabetes. But why are we only hearing about OZEMPIC now? Why are we only hearing about this off-license or off-label use of OZEMPIC for weight loss? Well, obviously, it's because of TikTok, but also because in 2022, the FDA approved an increased maximum dose of OZEMPIC for people with type 2 diabetes. The 1 milligram weekly dose increased to a 2 milligram maximum weekly dose. However, importantly, this increase was still 0.4 milligrams lower than Wegovy's maximum dose per week. The interest in OZEMPIC also has a lot to do with celebrity culture, especially on TikTok and Twitter. Such celebrities include most notably Elon Musk. And that is, importantly, how we get to being on the same page when we're talking about OZEMPIC/Wegovy.
I did this through a private clinic, and it was £250 just for this 1 month pen. Would I buy it again? For me, and that would be a no, and I'm going to tell you my reasons why. And when I say nothing worked for me, I mean nothing worked for me. My body, my brain was addicted to food. I was addicted to Coca-Cola. That was the number one thing, okay? I was drinking 6 cans of Coca-Cola a night. I couldn't break the cycle. My brain would not let me. And then one of the days I was just looking through TikTok and a lady came up and she'd started a new weight loss drug called Saxenda. And I thought, oh, okay, let me just have a look at that. I had a look. I did about 3 months of research, because side effects I will go through are insane. But then in January I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And it's worked for me. I've lost 5 stone. I lost about 4 from January to August. And then in August I swapped to Ozempic.
What I eat in a day on Ozempic, I drink 4 of these a day. Ice cold, it helps with the nausea.
Tell me why. Tell me why. Ever since I started taking semaglutide, doing the same exercise, the same diet, I have been able to lose over 40 pounds in 5 months, whereas I was only able to lose, with just diet and exercise exclusively, 6 pounds. So sometimes it's not just diet and exercise. Sometimes, yes, you do need something to help you out.
Now, I think there's 2 very important things to consider here. Firstly, although the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence and the Food and Drug Administration have approved the use of Ozempic for type 2 diabetes, Ozempic has not been approved as a weight loss supplement or as a treatment for obesity. Using Ozempic for weight loss is therefore not NICE or FDA approved, and it is therefore being used off license. By definition, off-label use means the use of pharmaceutical drugs for an unapproved indication or in an unapproved age group, dosage, or route of administration. Therefore, when Ozempic is being used like Wegovy, the outcomes are not known nor predictable. The consequences of using these injections are not wholly known, and risk is completely on you. Even if we just read Wegovy's important safety information, the warnings are pretty endless. Wegovy may cause serious side effects, including possible thyroid tumors, including cancer. Tell your healthcare provider if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, hoarseness, trouble swallowing, or shortness of breath. These may be symptoms of thyroid cancer. In studies with rodents, Wegovy and medicines that work like Wegovy caused thyroid tumors, including thyroid cancer. It is not known if Wegovy will cause thyroid tumors or a type of thyroid cancer called MTC in people. Do not use Wegovy if you or any of your family have ever had a type of thyroid cancer called MTC, or if you have MEN2. Tell your healthcare provider about all the medicines you take, including prescription and over-the-counter medicines, vitamins, and herbal supplements. Wegovy may affect the way some medicines work, and some medicines may affect the way Wegovy works. Tell your healthcare provider if you are taking other medicines to treat diabetes. Wegovy slows stomach emptying and can affect medicines that need to pass through the stomach quickly. It is not known if Wegovy is safe and effective when taken with other prescription, over-the-counter, or herbal weight loss products. It is not known if Wegovy can be used safely in people with a history of pancreatitis. It is not known if Wegovy is safe and effective for use in children under 18 years of age. Even though in 2021, Wegovy was FDA approved for children to use, children 12 plus years to use, if they suffer from obesity or weight issues. Now, because of a supplier shortage with Wegovy, healthcare providers are using Ozempic as an off-license alternative or supplement for weight loss. I think it's also important to note that, at least based on my research and what people have been saying about their experience on Ozempic as an off-license weight loss supplement, Ozempic doesn't work once you get off of it. Remy Bader is a plus-size model who has been using Ozempic for type 2 diabetes since 2017. This is what she had to say about Ozempic and her weight.
I've been talking about Ozempic lately.
I know you have. You know, I was on that before it was trending.
So I wanted to ask you about it. When you talk about anything to do with weight, people can't handle it. And it's almost like
it's their own insecurity.
Right. You were offered it not for vanity. You were offered it because your doctor.
It was brand new, just got FDA approved.
Were you
no one
scared
knew about it.
to
I was
do it?
so scared. You know, if you once later got into the bad binging and went off it, and I saw a doctor and they were like, it's 100% because you went on Ozempic.
So it doesn't work when you get off of it.
I gained double the weight back after.
Now, I think it's very important to consider safety in all of this and what it ultimately means to the FDA, to healthcare providers, and to pharmaceutical companies providing these prescribed injections. The FDA is very clear in what it means by safety. When a pharmaceutical company like Novo Nordisk submits its drugs for review to the FDA or to NICE nice. They have to be able to demonstrate that their drugs are effective and safe to use. Importantly, this doesn't mean that their drugs are generally safe to use. That is, that anybody can take them. As the FDA themselves state, safe does not mean that the drugs have no side effects. Instead, it means the FDA has determined that the benefits of using the drug for a particular use outweigh the potential risks. I think the important phrasing here is using the drugs for a particular use. Ozempic was not approved for weight loss. Another example would be Victoza and Saxenda. Both of these contain the same active drug. However, only Saxenda has been approved for weight loss. Victoza, although it contains the exact same active drug, is not approved for weight loss. It's only approved for type 2 diabetes. And interestingly, in all this, the FDA takes no responsibility for the prescription of drugs off license or off label. That is, it takes no responsibility for the unapproved use of approved drugs. All responsibility is ultimately relegated to healthcare providers. Now, I think this has all created quite a dilemma, and it's a dilemma that I'm seeing more and more so in modern medicine and in the influence of corporatism and a corporate profit-driven mindset over the objectives of being a healthcare provider. Whether that is being an individual healthcare provider, such as a doctor, or being a healthcare provider insofar as being an organization, a public or private healthcare provider. When it comes to weight loss injections, experts are pretty much in consensus that semaglutide is effective. On the other hand, modern healthcare providers are also businesses or individuals working within private or public healthcare providers. For instance, Saxenda costs £52 a week or $65 a week for a single injection. Ozempic costs over £170 or $210 per week for a 0.5 milligram dose. Now, long story short, since Elon tweeted about his use of Ozempic/Wegovy, there has been a massive shortage. The shortage of Ozempic mirrors that of the almost instantaneous shortage of Wegovy back when it was FDA approved in 2017. Healthcare providers have chosen business over wellness, and this raises huge moral questions that increasingly modern medicine and healthcare needs to establish alongside us as consumers. I think in all of this, we need to ask, who is more important and what is more important? That is, who should be prioritized? Individuals who need Ozempic for its approved purpose, or the hundreds, potentially thousands of people posting on TikTok and social media about using Ozempic for weight loss and their weight loss journeys. That is, using Ozempic off license. Elon Musk revealed in late 2022 that he had lost 13 kgs since being on Ozempic. And I think this, alongside the rise in heroin chic aesthetic, the interest in losing weight now and being thin, especially as propagated by the Kardashians, has created a rather harrowing paradox. What we have now is people, namely those who can afford it and those who are the richest in our advanced societies, buying up off-license or off-label semaglutide like Ozempic for weight loss and preemptively, yes, preemptively. Top Gear's Jeremy Clarkson recently reported that he began injecting after fearing he could develop type 2 diabetes. Now, I found this most ironic when you consider that most people who suffer from or are likely to develop type 2 diabetes are also the poorest in modern societies. Despite universal health coverage, poverty and income inequality increases your chances of developing type 2 diabetes. In the UK, being poor increases your chances by 2.5 times across age groups. Now, I have nothing against preemptive measures. For instance, as somebody who is of African origin, I am at a lot higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes than the rest of the British population. That is just a fact. Therefore, I've had to noticeably organize my life very differently. I exercise regularly and very differently from my peers. I, for example, have a personal trainer. That is a luxury, and it's also a preemptive luxury. And it's also one that is a lot cheaper than a weight loss injection like Ozempic. The difference, however, is that my preemptive actions are a long-term and slow process. Jeremy Clarkson's is a short-term, quick fix one that can see immediate results. I think what is important to note about this whole situation is that there is no quick fix to anything health related or life related. And you can tell that Ozempic is a quick fix solution. You can see this just by the frenzy surrounding it, by how individuals, at least on TikTok, are going on and off it and on and off it again, are changing to different injections. The harm that this is doing to people's bodies is unknown, and nobody is taking responsibility for it. Regulators are protected by relegating all responsibility to healthcare providers. Healthcare providers are protected by the fine print and by their legal representatives and by working around regulations and laws. And healthcare providers relegate all responsibility and risk to you and me. You and me, who are desperate and impressionable individuals and consumers, who are serially on our phones, who are absorbed in social media and everything that it is telling us, who are also being sold a lie by celebrities, by the media, by the communities and spheres which we interact with and in, telling us that there are firstly individual solutions to our problems and that there are solutions to our problems which we can get with the mere click of a button. There's also no conversation about the morality underlying this. Of course, there are individual conversations, of which the majority are happening with individuals, but in terms of conversations happening between individual consumers, between healthcare providers, between regulators, between all of us, there is really nothing. On the websites of weight loss injections, there's a lot of language about individual choice, what you have determined is best for you, making the right decision for you. Now, this is all very well and good in theory, but in reality, one not only has to take responsibility for the consequences of one's choices, but also for the very choice itself. This is missing. And the fact that people aren't saying to themselves, maybe I shouldn't take Ozempic because it hasn't been approved for the weight loss reasons that I want to take Ozempic for. Maybe I shouldn't take Ozempic because there are individuals in much greater immediate need than me with type 2 diabetes who actually need Ozempic for its officially approved reasons is ludicrous. Because what this has firstly done is just increase demand, which has and will inevitably increase the price of Ozempic. And it therefore also means that the individuals in society who need Ozempic the most, namely the poorest, now cannot afford it or are going to have to spend a lot more money on it. And in the here and now, actual diabetics won't have access to Ozempic.
Update, doctor double my dose. I've lost 40 pounds. I don't feel I have. Excuse the fat. I'd probably see results if I didn't eat like poo.
When it comes to weight gain, when it comes to the obesity epidemic, I think the COVID pandemic is a very good example of what is wrong. I think it's an indication of how environment and quality of life affects us as individuals. I see on social media people saying that, oh, if you just eat healthy and exercise, you will lose weight. I don't agree with that at all. I think that is just very lacking in any nuance or understanding or appreciation of how there are people who will try everything, absolutely everything. There are people at the gym who exercise 10 times harder than me and do not look like me. It's really not as simple as that. In our environment, we are subsumed by processed foods and by pesticides. In our advanced economies, we are actually eating less per day than individuals ate in the 1980s, yet we are a lot fatter. We are also inundated relatively by a great deal more stress, anxiety, pollution, and depression. And this is all fueled by environmental factors, by factors and things out of our immediate control. And I think what this demonstrates is that it isn't all about just making individual changes and choices, not even when it comes to weight loss injections and the idea of it being completely on you, a risk risk that you are going to take, an individual and personal choice that's best for you, there has to be a reciprocal response from society and its institutions, multinational pharmaceuticals, government regulators, healthcare providers. These are all a part of society, and they are failing miserably in curbing their own access. So in order for a limitation on our own individual and personal access to be effective and meaningful, there has to be the same response from society, from its institutions. This doesn't mean not taking individual responsibility and really actually considering the underlying ethics and responsibility of individual choice, but it does mean looking at everybody, and I mean individuals and companies, individuals and society, with the same lens of scrutiny and consideration and responsibility. It's really time to at least start talking about medical ethics, especially as our trust in healthcare providers is diminishing rapidly. Because even though on the one hand, yes, TikTokers and individuals using Ozempic for weight loss is pretty crass. On the other hand, all of this lack of supply due to high demand could have been avoided. Novo Nordisk has a patent on the active ingredient of Victoza, the miracle medication for type 2 diabetes. That patent actually expires this year. A generic copycat version of Victoza, produced by Sandoz Pharmaceuticals, can only be launched in June of 2024, rather than this year, after the two pharmaceuticals had to settle confidentially in court. And this is nothing new. Hundreds of thousands of lives were lost during the height of the HIV/AIDS epidemic in South Africa because of the same kind of profit-driven mindset that goes unfettered. In layman's terms, a lack of supply could have been resolved by much cheaper copycat drugs being produced, which can't be because Novo Nordisk will not allow it, in the interest of business over wellness. But I'd be very interested to hear what you think about this situation surrounding weight loss injections. They are being presented as the cure to obesity. Do you think that there is such a cure, such a short-term quick fix cure to obesity, to the epidemic of obesity that is really taking over the modern world and the world at large? Do you think that responsibility is an individual characteristic and thing, or do you think that it should be expanded to include everybody? Do you think that there is a lack of morals surrounding modern medicine, especially as it becomes more consumer driven? I would be most interested to hear what you think. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you again to Babbel for sponsoring this video, and thank you as always to my very generous and wonderful patrons. And I will see you all very soon in the next one.